Hello, my name is Pamela Moore. I'm a master gardener, and this evening I'm going to take you on a short tour of a garden that I created from a bank that proved to be too dangerous to mow. In addition to taking care of the safety issue, this garden also provides a visual barrier between the street and our home. Right now we're looking at the street and you can see the cars going by. I'm going to turn back around, and this is our home, and we often like to sit on the back porch, and we did not like to be in full view of the sidewalk and the street. So initially what we did is we put in some willow and then put in a small island garden, which is a mixture of annuals, perennials, and evergreens. And then moving up towards the linden, which is the large tree right at the street, you'll see that there is quite a steep bank, and this is what we decided to take care of. So right now we're walking toward the street, and along here is the east property line, and you'll see a mixture of milkweed, coreopsis, and some rose of Sharon. The milkweed is here for the monarch butterflies. And then moving to the south, you'll see where we began to put in initially just hosta and vinca between the sidewalk and the bank. And initially it was just the ring of hosta, which I'm moving towards right now around the tree. Then the vinca was added, and then we began to expand it out. And the way we did this is that a couple of years ago, as we were raking leaves and it was still fall and we were still mowing the grass, we just layered the leaves with the green grass, which you'll do in a compost pile, and we just kept piling it up and left it all winter long. And by doing that, it started to create the basis for a bed, and we expanded it out. So the first thing you'll see as we move from the hostas, you'll see there's bleeding heart in here. You'll see that there's daylily. In addition, there are fern. Moving back again towards the east, along in here, there are also spring bulbs, some bleeding heart, and some columbine. And then I used stones to more or less secure the bank as I was working on it. Again, more daylilies, moving to daisies. Here we've got iris. So the garden really is designed so it will be different at all times of the year. It starts out with early spring blooms. We are now in mid to late July. The daisies are in bloom. The phlox is coming into bloom. And there are a variety of daylilies. Initially I was going to make it only a daylily garden, but then daylilies tend to look best in July, and then they don't have a lot of color, so I began adding other things. So you'll see daylily here mixed with the daisies. There's an evergreen that will eventually fill between these two spaces. Coneflower. There's trumpet vine growing up through the burning bush. Then there are some black-eyed Susan. Along in here, there's more daylily. There's also crocosemy, which is going to have to be moved next year because it's proved to be entirely too shady for it. Moving along this way, the entire end of the bed is sundrops, which are generally in bloom towards the end of June, first part of July. Moving again toward the cone flowers. And you'll notice that with all the plant material, what I've done is I've tried to create a repetition so there is a flow. So I'll poke a hosta here and there. Here again, I've added some more cone flowers, some daisies. This is Walker's Low. And this one I have not trimmed back yet. You can see where it needs to be trimmed back. The bees are enjoying this quite a bit this year. Then continuing to move this way, there's more phlox. Autumn joy sedum is just beginning to show a slight pink tinge. Then the geranium, and then coneflower again. Behind the coneflower there is a mini pearl phlox, which is a white phlox and is in bloom in early to mid-June. Here we've got daylilies that have finished blooming, and this also is a daylily. This one is red ribbons. It is a spider daylily, and the scapes on it get very tall. Right next to it is a beautiful yellow double daylily. Then back to the autumn joy sedum. More of the Walker's Low. Behind the Walker's Low, here looking towards the house, is a stand of Jerusalem artichoke, and some of these get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall, and in September they'll be covered with beautiful yellow herbs. Butterfly weed here, nothing is in bloom yet. Actually, it bloomed a couple of times, and it blooms some yellow, some orange, and occasionally yellow and red and orange together on the same plant. So far, this is the first year for this one, and I've only seen the yellow and the orange blooms. Again, moving back towards the large yellow double daylily. Behind that is coreopsis, 2 different colors, just the yellow and the yellow and the maroon, and then the maroon is pulled up through, and you see it is then backing up towards the sidewalk, and there is a beautiful weeping purple beech. It's sort of the centerpiece. Behind that there is a red twig dogwood. All throughout here in this area are spring bulbs here. You can barely see it, but this would have been iris again. And then moving this way, another variety of daylily. Another variety of daylily, and then some beautiful yellow spider daylilies. This is the Walker's Low, which I recently trimmed, and it's all coming nicely in bloom again. And that has been a favorite of the bees all season. You'll see I made a little 3-piece stake arrangement out of bamboo that's in the backyard because it got so tall it fell and it was vacant in the middle. Next to the Walker's Low, you'll see more sedum. Behind that is pink yarrow, which came from my grandmother's garden. Right now you can hardly see the pink, the bloom is fading out, and it was recently transplanted, but since it spreads rapidly and can be quite invasive, I wasn't really too worried about the fact that it seems to have a little bit of root shock here from getting moved. And along here there's another daylily, and I'm not even sure what color this is going to be, but by tomorrow morning I should know for sure. Moving along this way, more phlox, then recently transplanted black-eyed Susan, which won't bloom this year but will be nice next year, followed by an evergreen, another recent transplant of a little bit of the Walker's Low, again repeating with the black-eyed Susan, the sedum, and Here we have evergreen being added, and again, behind it is more phlox. So I'm just going to back up to the sidewalk and just pan the entire garden for you so you can see how in a matter of 3 years this very steep bank was transformed into a beautiful garden that is mostly a perennial garden, but I have added a few annuals in. There are some bulbs, and a lot of it is daylilies, and the colors change with the season. Earlier in the season there are a lot of purples, and it's now going into more yellows and pinks. And there you see the sidewalk all the way down to the end, and I'm just going to slowly walk the garden as everyone who walks either in the early morning or in the late afternoon, and it's in the village, so a lot of people do walk along here, and you can enjoy what they're enjoying as you walk along. And in fact, several of the neighbors have commented that they never thought that this would turn out to be so pretty, and how much they're enjoying seeing all the different flowers coming in and going out of bloom. And you can see how steep the slope is from this angle. You'll also see a lot of weeds I haven't got to yet. Next year's project will be to get the edge of the border a little more sharply defined, but for right now my concentration was getting plants in, and here are the few annuals that I have, and I've just sprinkled some impatiens in along the very edge. And again, more and more hosta. I think I counted, and I think there's 7 different variety of hostas throughout here. And okay, we're at the end, and this is forsythia that's on the property line, and so that's the nice view that folks have as they're walking down the sidewalk now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and perhaps you got some ideas as to how to take care of a trouble spot in your yard. The key is to look at magazines and garden shows, and go to garden shows for ideas, and then don't be afraid to try things and to adapt to problem areas that you may have. I hope you enjoyed it.